Would you like to find out what episodic content is, why it's so important, and 7 reasons why you should be embracing an episodic content marketing strategy? Yes, well, listen in to find out more.
Welcome to the Content 10X Podcast, the show where content creators learn how to harness the power of content repurposing. And now, your host, Amy Woods.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Content 10X Podcast. I'm Amy Woods and this episode is all about episodic content, which is something that I'm really passionate about because I know that it makes a big difference. Now let me start by asking you a question. What is more important when it comes to content marketing? Having a show with consistency and regularity, or creating content as and when you feel like it when inspiration hits? I'm about to share with you why I think it's really important to embrace having a show, something that I refer to as episodic content. Now I'm going to dig into what episodic content is, the huge, hard to ignore benefits of episodic content, and also some examples too. Now firstly, let's just talk about content. To build a brand, you need to create consistent quality content and distribute it to ensure it reaches your audience. Whether you're building a business brand or a personal brand or both, it's all the same. And also, if you want to get your product or service well known in the marketplace, then consistently creating quality content is the way to go. Or if you want to become recognised as an authority in your industry, the key is to create consistent quality content and distribute it to ensure it reaches your audience. Content is at the heart of all of those strategies, and the 3 pillars I always talk about are consistency, quality and distribution. I love episodic content because it's centered around those 3 pillars. So what is episodic content? Well, in the context of content marketing for businesses, I define it as regular content that follows a schedule. For example, the Content 10X podcast is my episodic content, which is a weekly show that goes live every Thursday and has for over 3 years. Episodic content can be in different formats. It could be a blog, video, podcast, live stream. It's all about being the same format, same location, and following a regular cadence. And that's why it's called a show, because it's just like our favourite TV shows and we treat it as a show too. Depending on the form of your episodic content, it can be really powerful for storytelling. Now, it's far more preferable than committing random acts of content, which is a phrase I love, but I can't take full credit for because my friend Jay Bear talks about the crime that is random acts of content. I think he may have coined that phrase, I don't know, but I absolutely love it. Now, random acts of content are a video here, a podcast episode there, the occasional blog post, a live stream once in a blue moon, then daily, then monthly. You pop up as and when you feel like it. To your audience, you're like that arcade game Whack-A-Mole where people never know where or when you're next going to pop up. Hopefully, they don't want to whack you on the head when you do, but I'm sure you get the point. Now, let me tell you what I consider to be the 7 key benefits of episodic content. Firstly, you grow a loyal audience, an audience who returns your content time and time again. They become fans of your show, and your goal is to become their favourite over time. People love consistency. You may even create a show that is addictive. It's so good people discover you and binge your podcast episodes or videos Netflix style. Now, if you create episodic content, people are more likely to come back for more and they are more likely to subscribe and follow you. Second, platforms value consistency. We're often talking about the algorithms on the social media platforms. They follow a certain set of rules to determine how to treat content. When you get into a consistent rhythm, it's not only humans that like you, but the bots do too. And the platforms recognize your consistency and value it. Third, Episodic content is good for SEO. In other words, the search engines love you for it. Consistency is valued by search engines. Also, very beneficial for SEO is the linking process of episodic content and return user patterns, which get the attention of Google and the other search engines, and that helps your site's ranking.
Hey, just a little break from this podcast episode to ask you a question. Would you like one single place that you can go to that provides you with everything you need to be able to implement the best practices in content repurposing for your video content, your podcast episodes, and your social media content today? To help you get more value from the content that you create, get more time back, and help you reach more people than you ever thought possible. If so, then you are going to love the Content 10x Toolkit. The toolkit is full of video tutorials, templates, checklists, swipe files, step-by-step guides and more that shows you how to repurpose your content in the best ways possible today. No more Googling, no more figuring it out yourself. We provide you with everything that you need to become a content repurposing pro. If this sounds like something that would interest you, then go check out the Content 10x Toolkit at content10x.com/toolkit. Okay, and back to this week's episode.
The fourth benefit of episodic content is it's a good approach for you and your team because it's conducive with building systems and processes around it. Now, if you know me, you know I'm all about getting the most from your content and repurposing your content. And when you can develop repeatable processes for content creation and repurposing, you find it far easier to manage and it's easier to bring in support to help you too. So all of our clients at Content 10x create episodic content. That's a requirement for working with us for most of our services. So having a show versus random acts of content is an easier, seamless way to publish lots of regular, consistent content. The fifth benefit is that it gives you room to develop and share your ideas over time. You can break down your big ideas into episodes and it can really help to frame your thinking. Episodic content also helps you to stick to themes and keep focused. Sixth, episodic content keeps you front of mind. It's so important to stay front of mind with your audience and potential clients. Prospects need to have over 7 touch points with you before making a buying decision, and content can really help. And having regular episodic content with processes in place to maximize and repurpose the content means you're more likely to keep front of mind and you're more likely to meet your audience where they hang out in their preferred format. Now, for more on this, check out podcast episode 134, the content repurposing customer journey from mobile to long form to buying. And seventh, you can build credibility with episodic content and really establish a name for yourself. Now, there's no doubt it can be hard work to have a show, but once it gains some traction, you can really start to stand out more. And it's a content marketing approach that, if done well, will help you to establish more authority, more interest, and as I've already talked about before, a much more loyal audience. Now, if our content helps us to gain trust, then this will also massively help you with the sales process as well. And also, something else to mention about episodic content, and I've mentioned this before, but whilst it can be hard work, it can also be less work because it's easier to get support. Like working with us at Content 10x, in that case, you only have to commit to the raw content and leave everything else to us, from the final editing to end-to-end repurposing. It's so much easier to get support with episodic content than it is with random acts of content. So that's my 7 benefits for creating episodic content. I just want to run through some approaches for episodic content. Now, there's a talk show style where you have, let's say, a weekly guest interview or perhaps even a panel interview. And this could be in the form of podcast episodes, a video, or you could record it as a live stream on one or many platforms. There's behind the scenes shows, almost like a reality TV show, and we know how much people like those. So draw back the curtains on a regular basis and show people what's going on in your business and create a show around that. Then there's more of a documentary style show. Take people on a journey with you. This could be like the behind the scenes just mentioned, or perhaps more scripted and planned out in order to share the story. Now, maybe it's a story from the past being revisited, or maybe it's more taking people along in real time. And also the solo shows where it's more thought leadership style content, or talking heads where it's one person or a couple of people. So this show right now is episodic solo show talking head thought leadership style content. And for some real life examples of all of these, head over to the blog post related to this podcast episode at content10x.com/171, where I'll share some more examples of real life episodic content. As with everything, of course, you have to consider which approach could be right for you and your audience. But I hope that I've inspired you to create episodic content if you don't do this already. And please do let me know how you get on. I hope you found this useful. Thanks so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Now, if you would like help with your content repurposing, then I mentioned it earlier, but we at Content 10x offer this as a fully done for you service. So do head on over to content10x.com/services to find out more about this. And we work with episodic video and podcast creators. If you don't already have a copy, then do grab a copy of my book, Content 10x, More Content, Less Time, Maximum Results. Head on over to content10x.com/book, or just go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble online and you'll find Content 10x. And of course, do follow me on social media. I'm always sharing tips and advice, and sometimes even trying to be funny on the social media platforms. I'm at Content 10x on all of them. All that's left to say is thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.